abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. Does that strike you as a little bit strange of a verse? Go back and read it again. If you're just waiting for me to say something, just go back and listen. I don't have any like a pastor's version of the Bible. There's not like this extra book that you get when you're a pastor that the Holy Spirit just hands to you personally. Okay, here you go. Here's your special edition. Okay, so you and I are reading from the same book. Now look at it. My brethren, count it how much joy? So don't even just think it's joy. Count it all joy. Under what circumstance are you supposed to count it all joy? When you fall into diverse temptations. Wow. What in the world? What is God trying to teach us here? What? Do you think he means it? So next time you get tempted. Yes! Yes! It should be the best thing that could happen to you. Better than your Christmas presents, better than your birthday. You fell into temptation. Woohoo! What? That's what he said. I wonder why. What do you get when you fall into temptation? What is it you earn when you fall into temptation? What's the reward falling into temptation? We'll look at verse number 3. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh what? Patience. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Let me tell you why you should be so joyful when you fall into temptation. You know why? Because that's how you get patience. Oh, does that make sense? Wait, hold on. Patience, we all understand patience. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's a good thing, right? But is it good enough to be super excited that you get it because you fall into temptation? It's sort of like this. Imagine next year under the Christmas tree, God buys you a present. He wraps it up in wrapping paper, puts your name on it, from God to you. And it's under the Christmas tree wrapped up, and you're like, oh, I wonder what it is. And as you look at the shape of it, just the size of the package and the shape of it, you just kind of realize, oh my goodness, I think it might be patience. Are you going to freak out like, oh yes! I don't know, boy, but I think you might got some patience under there. And you just come unglued. Are you serious? Runs over and tells his mom, I think I got some patience under the tree waiting for, I cannot wait to open it. Does that make any sense to you? My brethren, count it how much joy? All joy. When you fall into diverse temptations. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh what? Now, do you see what it says about patience? But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. So the word there, perfect, means complete, fully matured. You're perfect. And it says that you get there, you're perfect and entire, wanting or lacking nothing when you have patience. Wow. We are really putting patience out there. Like, what is this talking about? Tonight, we're going to talk about the importance of temptation and the benefits of patience. To do that, I'm going to do something we don't normally do in our church. We're going to watch TV. Yeah, okay, okay, that's not. But we're going to watch a video. Is that okay? We're going to watch a video. So we're going to do that tonight. I'm going to have our men just cut these. You can just leave on tonight because we'll go back for it. Just leave off just turn off the white lights. And all right, okay. Now hold on, no, wait. Hold on, tell you. Yeah, great. Fine, good. Hold on, the lights are still on here. Go ahead and cut those lights, guys. There we go. Oh, there we go. And let me get the lights where I want them. I've been working on this because I want them in a certain way. You know what I mean? Let me see here. How do I do this here? I have great power tonight over these lights. So let me see if I can do this here. Let me see. All right. Okay. Show that thing, gentlemen.
This is a bell. Okay.
Louder.
It's called the Marshmallow test.
One goes.
We try to set up situations in which young children make a choice between two of something that you prefer later or one of something that you prefer a little less.
Okay, push pause, brother.
If you had to choose.
Okay. So here's what's going on. There is an experiment that was done in the 1960s. It's quite famous. At Stanford University, they did an experiment where they brought in a bunch of kids that were 4 years old. And they would do this simply, like he just said, that they would actually do the experiment where there would be a child would be given a marshmallow. But they'd be told that if they want to eat it, they can eat it. But if they'll wait, they'll get 2. That's what they were told. Okay? Now, as this man, apparently we're not going to be able to go back and forth easily. I'm not sure what system we're using at this moment. Can we go back, or is it going to start from the very beginning again, brother? We can pause it from that point on? Okay, let's do that then. Start from the beginning again, and then I'll pause you a couple times.
Okay.
It's called the Marshmallow test.
One goes.
We try to set up situations in which young children make a choice between two of something that you prefer later or one of something that you prefer a little less now.
If you had to choose, would you like to have one marshmallow? Yeah. Or would you like to have 2 marshmallows?
The whole point of the experiment is to set up an intense conflict between the two.
Now,
Push pause.
Here's how we play this game. I'm going to leave the room
Please.
while I'm gone. If you can stay here and wait for me to come back without eating the marshmallows.
Is there a way to make it where you can put, if not, then we'll just watch the way through next time, okay? We'll just do that in a second, okay? But I want you to understand, I want you to notice these different sentences as we went through with it. He just let me repeat to you what he just said. He said they're intentionally causing a conflict. Do you understand what that means? A conflict between the two. Between what two? Between 2 choices. To have something good now or to have something better later. They were trying to create a conflict. We could call this, another word for this is a trial for the will. You understand that? And the Bible uses another word in lieu of trials. Often it uses them interchangeably, and that would be the word temptation. They're trying to set up a conflict between 2 ideas, between the idea of having something good now or having something better later. And that conflict, they want it to be where that child is going to have to fight a little war in themselves with temptation. In other words, they are creating a moment of temptation. And let me explain to you what the temptation, how the temptation works is simply this. I can have something really good now, or I could have something even better later. All right, brother, keep going.
Now, here's how we play this game. I'm going to leave the room while I'm gone. If you can stay here and wait for me to come back without eating the marshmallows, then you get 2 marshmallows. Okay. But if you don't want to wait, you can make me come back right away.
The bell.
By pressing the bell. But then you get 1 marshmallow, not 2 marshmallows.
I won't ring the bell.
You won't ring the bell? Okay.
The conflict for the child is very heavy. Is that about half will go one way and half will go the other.
Push pause.
Oh, you made me come.
So he said about half will go one way and half will go the other. So I want you to understand that there are children like that little one who just rang the bell. When you ring the bell, it's telling the teacher, I'm going to go ahead and eat it now. If you want to eat it, you can eat it. Just ring the bell. I'll come back and you eat your marshmallow. If you wait for me to come back without ringing the bell, you get 2 marshmallows. Some children could wait, and some children couldn't wait. This is quite famous. How many of you have heard of this experiment before? Push play.
Back.
It's like a little window into willpower or dilemmas that everybody faces. What we found is a very simple and direct way of measuring a competence that seems to make an important life difference. The longer they were able to wait at age 4, the better the ratings of their ability to control themselves and to pursue their academic and other goals.
Push pause, brother. So let me explain to you what they did. Tabitha, they actually did this experiment. It wasn't just this one time. They went back 14 years later or so. They tracked these same kids and looked at their progress in school. And they found this fascinating correlation between the kids who didn't eat it and those who did. And here's what they discovered. They discovered that those who could keep themselves from eating the marshmallow did better throughout their lives in a whole myriad of ways compared to those who ate it. They had higher scores academically. They were able to achieve their goals. It's interesting that you could predict at 4 where a child is going to end up at 18 based upon whether or not he ate his marshmallow early instead of waiting for the payoff by holding out and having patience. Keep going, brother. Listen to the list of things you got. Listen.
Please come back.
The kids who are able to delay gratification are increasingly learning ways of managing frustration, ways of managing distress. In middle life, there's less drug use.
Less drug use.
Higher educational level attainment. Much less likely to have lowered self-esteem, to engage in bullying behavior with other people. The correlations are clearly statistically significant. But that in no way means that a youngster who at age 4 didn't wait a long time is in any way doomed.
Okay. Is that not fascinating to you? It is to me. It is to me. So, now, I'm not sure what you got out of that. I'm not sure what you learned. I'm just wondered if you, how you took it. Let me ask you this question. From what you saw, do you see patience as helping the child endure temptation? Or do you see the temptation as helping the child build patience? In the experiment you just saw, the researcher implies that patience helps the child to endure other temptations in the future. Temptations to slack off of study. Temptations to engage in drug use. Temptations to treat others poorly to gain something. That's called bullying. The implication is they could already tell this kid has self-control. We call that the ability to wait, or patience. The ability to just keep waiting, and I want to indulge so bad, but I know I'm not supposed to. Just wait. The time is going to come. The time is going to come. The time is going to come, and then make it to the end versus succumbing. And if you just have patience, then he's implying that the kid who at 4 has patience is going to be able to overcome things in his life. But I want to ask you this question. What do you think it is? Is it that patience helps me endure temptation, or is it that temptation helps me to build patience? I want you to think about that as we watch a second video.
I'm here because I have a very important message. I think we have found the most important factor for success. And it was found close to here, Stanford. Psychology professor took kids that were 4 years old and put them in a room all by themselves. And he would tell the child, a 4-year-old kid, Johnny, I'm going to leave you here with a marshmallow for 15 minutes. If after I come back, this marshmallow is here, you will get another one. So you will have 2. To tell a 4-year-old kid to wait 15 minutes for something that they like is equivalent to tell us, we'll bring you coffee in 2 hours. Exact equivalent. So, what happened when the professor left the room? As soon as the door closed, 2 out of 3 ate the marshmallow. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes. Some lasted 14 and a half minutes. Couldn't do it. Could not wait. What's interesting is that 1 out of 3 would look at the marshmallow and go like this. Would look at it, put it back. They would walk around. They would play with their skirts and pants. That child already at 4 understood the most important principle for success, which is the ability to delay gratification. Self-discipline, the most important factor for success. 15 years later, 14, 15 years later, follow-up study. What did they find? They went to look for these kids who were now 18 and 19, and they found that 100% of the children that had not eaten the marshmallow were successful. They had good grades, they were doing wonderful, they were happy, they had their plans, they had good relationship with the teachers, students, they were doing fine. A great percentage of the kids that ate the marshmallow, they were in trouble. They did not make it to the university, they had bad grades, some of them dropped out, a few were still there with bad grades, a few had good grades. I had a question in my mind. Would Hispanic kids react the same way as the American kids? So I went to Colombia and I reproduced the experiment, and it was very funny. I used 4, 5, and 6 years old kids. And let me show you what happened.
Hasta para un niño de 4 años, es atractiva la idea de tener el 100% de retorno a la inversión en 15 minutos. Sin embargo, algunos de ellos, tan pronto la puerta se cerró, se comieron el marshmallow inmediatamente. Otros, en cambio, resistieron el impulso.
Oh, don't do it.
So, what happened in Colombia? Hispanic kids, 2 out of 3 ate the marshmallow, 1 out of 3 did not. This little girl was interesting. She ate the inside of the marshmallow. In other words, she wanted us to think that she had not eaten it, so she would get 2, but she ate it. So we know she'll be successful, but we have to watch her. Okay? She should not go into banking, for example, or work in a cash register, but she will be successful. And this applies for everything, even in sales. The salesperson that customer says, I want that, and say, okay, here you are, the person ate the marshmallow. If the salesperson said, wait a second, let me ask you a few questions to see if this is a good choice, then you sell a lot more. So this has applications in all walks of life. I end with the Koreans did this. You know what? This is so good. We want a marshmallow book for children. And we did one for children, and now it's all over Korea. They're teaching these kids exactly this principle, and we need to learn that principle here in the States because we have a big debt. We're eating more marshmallows than we're producing. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's good. Gentlemen, so let me ask you this question real quickly here. Do you think that patience helps me endure temptation? Or do you think temptation helps me to build patience? It's an important question. A lot of this research, the implication and what these researchers got out of it was the idea that if you will simply reject this marshmallow, this is an indicator that you have what it takes to someday be successful. And it's true. It's obviously it's where it's worked out. But the question is it because these people who say no to the marshmallow have patience? Or is it something even more where the temptation that you go through and overcome builds your patience? We have some folks in here right now who have gym memberships. My son has a gym membership. The reason he goes to the gym, the reason our young men and many of our folks go to gyms is because they just love pain. No, I'm just kidding. There's something that they're looking for a reward that comes by putting themselves through something that they would rather not go through, to give themselves a challenge, to look at this weight, which is for their minds heavy, and to be able to do it, all the reps they want to do it, it's going to take more than they think they have in them, but they know if they can just mentally think about it, they can do it. And they challenge themselves to get there and start lifting and start getting that thing up and again and again and again until it eventually becomes, they just try one last time. This is what it is to work out. We call it working out. Let me ask you this. Does strength help you to pick up the weight? Or does lifting the weight build strength? Let's go back to James, shall we? James chapter number 1. These researchers discovered something that they could have known already if they had believed James chapter 1. And you and I could already know it if we had already just gone to James chapter number 1. James chapter number 1, verse number 2 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith does what? Worketh what? Patience." So you have this diverse temptations. Why does there have to be diverse? Why are we excited about diverse temptations? I'll explain to you what happens when the guy goes to work out. He walks into a gym, and the gym is filled with diverse kinds of exercise equipment. And each piece of equipment is there to work out a certain set of muscles in your body. Maybe he wants to work out his legs. Maybe he works out his abs. Maybe it's his shoulders. Maybe it's his bicep. Whatever he's trying to do, he's trying to work out a certain set with each one he does. And he doesn't just do the same equipment over and over and over and have one set of muscles that are huge and the rest of it is completely weak. No, he realizes he has to be balanced and he wants to build himself where he does cardio a little bit, and then he does squats, and he does bench presses, all these things to build up different areas of his body, and he goes from place to place to place, and he's willing to pay for it. He's willing to pay his own money to be able to have the access to that place. And he gets himself there. He either drives his car, rides a bike, takes a bus, gets dropped off, then he goes to that gym. And he works and he works and he works and he works because he's trying to get stronger in physical strength. That's what he's doing it for. Well, the Bible tells us here that if you want to get patience, the only way to get patience is through temptation. If I were to be one of those guys who just decides, I want to be strong, and I just determine in my mind, I'm strong. I'm strong. It's not going to grow any bigger. The same thing's true if you want to have patience. You cannot will yourself into patience. There's only one way to develop patience, and that is to go through a battle of whether or not to eat the marshmallow or to wait until you can have 2 marshmallows. I like marshmallows. I think they're good. Don't you like marshmallows? There we have the marshmallows. They do smell good, by the way. They smell really, really good. You know what you and I need in our lives? We need to work on our patience. And there's only one way to have your patience worked on. And that is to have the opportunity to have 1 marshmallow now. And then decide, I'm going to wait until I get to have 2 marshmallows. Every time you have a chance to either study good, rich school material or play a video game, I'm sorry, I want to play the video game. That's this. But you know what it is to get 2 marshmallows? It's when you're able to get a scholarship to a really good university and have an amazing future being the guy who owns the company that makes the video games, you know? Because you said no to this one, you get this in life. You know what? You can have that girl when you're 14, 15, 16. You can have a girlfriend. You can do some stuff. That'll be really fun. It'll be like a marshmallow. You know what God says? If you'll wait, you can have 2. It's better. Your pastor says that. Mom, dad say it. The Bible says it over and over again. And it's true, but it's hard to wait. Every one of those kids have been given a promise that if you'll just simply wait, you'll get 2. And as they're looking at that marshmallow sitting on that plate, they begin to think, I'm going to wait, but I would like to see what I'm going to get. Now, if you know about the experiment, literally there was kids in the original experiment, you can see the videos, where they would literally turn around in their chair and face their back to the marshmallow. Smart kids. It's a little bit harder to be drawn to the marshmallow if you'll turn your back on the marshmallow. That's called dress standards, by the way, but that's what we're doing. We're simply trying to say, let's get as far away from temptation so that you don't fall into it. That way, you can have both marshmallows later without having accidentally slipped into it. Do you notice the little kids who just were like, well, I got my finger a little bit on there, and let me just, oh yeah, that is going to be good. Oh. They weren't doing themselves any favors to be able to wait for the second marshmallow. If they'll just wait, they'll get every bit of the first marshmallow plus a second marshmallow. And by just slowly going toward the marshmallow, they have not done themselves a favor, right? Let me ask you something. Did their patience allow them to endure the temptation to eat the marshmallow? Or did resisting the temptation to the marshmallow develop in them patience? It's a very important question. What's the answer? Let me tell you. I go to work out. I have that bar. The whole reason I'm working out is to develop muscle, yes? To become stronger, yes? But I'll tell you something. If you have a heavy weight, you've got to at least have some strength to to be able to lift that first weight, yes? That first rep. The answer to the question is this. Yes, patience helps me to endure temptation in the same way that strength allows me to lift the weight. But the answer is also yes, temptation helps me build stronger patience in the same way that the strength to lift that weight gives me new strength to lift heavier weights. And here's what happens through your life, is that life is all about rewards that you only get because you rejected the one marshmallow in favor of the two. You see, here's what I'm going to suggest to you. The kids who said no that day had to have a little bit of patience to say no, but they had to exercise that patience to say no. And the exercise of that patience gave them a little bit more patience. And for some of those kids who said no, a little while later, when they had a chance to go have fun instead of preparing for that test, and they wanted to have fun, but they were able to make themselves go and study for the test. That wasn't easy. But they developed a little bit more patience. Then the day came when their friends went to party. And they knew, if I go to that party, there's probably going to be some things there that are going to attract me toward things I shouldn't do. And I'll tell you what, I will not partake in them. I will go to the good parts of the party, and while they're doing their thing in the corner, I'll just not do it with them. The smarter kids said, I'm not going. I'm going to turn my back on it completely because I don't want to get involved in that. And there was other kids who went, and they knew that that night they had a chance to experience something. They had been told over and over and over, say no to drugs, say no to drugs. It'll hurt you. Don't do that. But they wanted to experience this. And they lost the chance to have this. But the kid that decided to go ahead and say no built a little bit more patience and got over and over in his life the rewards over and over and over and over and over and over. Let me tell you something interesting. If you tonight, when you go home, don't do it now, keep your phones off, okay? Don't do this now. But if you were to go home and just say, I've got a half an hour to waste, you can look up this experiment, just look up the marshmallow experiment. And you know what you'll find? You'll actually find a little bit difficult to find articles that do not attempt to criticize this research. You see, in recent years, in the last 5 years, there's been new research done. They've tried to replicate this. They found a flaw in this research. So they've redone it, trying to correct the flaw. And by doing that way, they have tried to debunk the results of this. The problem is that the results of this are intuitively true, are they not? We kind of all know that that's how it works in life, but they've tried to debunk it. Here's what they've decided. Here's how they did it, by the way. This is really brilliant. If you want to be able to find some flaw in everybody's work, you can figure out a way to do it. And here's how they did it. Listen carefully. These people at Stanford, they were all taking these children from one preschool. And that preschool happened to be a little bit more prestigious preschool because it was right next to Harvard. So guess what? The kids going to that preschool happened to be the children, by and large, of academics and researchers there at Stanford. So really, you weren't getting a sampling of normal families' kids. You were getting a little bit more of the intelligent families' kids, the well-off families' kids. So when you're doing this experiment, you're not really doing it with normal people. Let's redo it with a little bit more normal people. So they did. They went to more normal preschools. They did the same thing, and then they waited all those years, did the same tests, because they had a suspicion that there was a connection between those who did better and those who did poorly that was based on socioeconomic factors. What that means is, I don't know. No, I was kidding. Socio means with having a society. Economics has with money. So socioeconomic factors would be something like this. Some of those families, kids, came from the family where it was a mother and a father. But other kids only had one or the other. They grew up in a single-parent family. Some of them grew up where they got to have parents who had PhDs. Some of the other kids grew up with parents who didn't even finish high school. You've got some kids whose parents were already athletic and they were self-disciplined and they can get up early. You've got other kids whose parents were addicted to drugs and had big problems. And there's... Then you have the economic factors. Some of these kids grew up in homes very privileged, where their parents simply had great jobs and had good money and had good investments. Then you had other kids whose parents were simply poor. And so once they factored this in, they declared, we have not found any real statistical difference. It didn't really matter who ate this and didn't, who had the one who didn't. It didn't really matter. It was even more to do with the socioeconomic background of the families you came from. What they decided was this, that the family that you came from, you happen to have grown up in a family where you didn't have as much money, where your parents weren't as smart, where you just weren't around a bunch of smart people, so you ate it. It was not the factor of you had the marshmallow or not. It was the fact that you grew up in a poor home. So yeah, when you went to high school, you had lower marks than those kids because the guy who didn't eat it happened to grow up in a family whose parents had a higher IQ, so he received a higher IQ just genetically. And then his parents sent him to better schools, better preschools, better middle schools. He had tutors. He went to all these different functions. He was put in all these camps in the summertime. And so he did better. That's what the factor was. Let me now tell you what I think. I think it's true. I think that it does have to do with socioeconomic background. You know how that works? It goes like this. Those who had a better academic past, a better background in academics, it's because they disciplined themselves to get it. They opened books and read them instead of comic books, which is fine, but they just chose that. If you choose comic books, fine, but they chose different books. Instead of watching TikTok videos, they were taking actual lessons somewhere, learning some new skill. That's what they were doing. When the person over here could not stop themselves from spending every dollar they ever got as quick as they got it, this child, this person growing up, the parent of the one who would later on not eat this, was somehow deciding, I'm going to live differently and not eat this. I'm going to wait for this financially. The result being this, the kid who grew up in this family, I'm sorry, his parents did not have the discipline to stop watching their cell phones, to stop watching their soap operas, to go actually train their child when they're 3, 4, and 5 to not eat the marshmallow. Whereas this family, they weren't even saved, but they took the time to teach and to train and to put their children in situations where they were encouraged to be self-disciplined. And it puts itself all the way through. Let me say, I'm telling you right now is this. What disciplining your child is teaching them to forgo this so they can have this. That's all it means. And to punish them for having picked this instead of this. That's what you're doing every single time you make your child, instead of playing around, but clean your room. I don't want to clean my room. That's the wrong answer. You go in my bedroom. You're going to get discipline right there. Okay, let's try this again. Go clean your room. Yes, ma'am. Go clean the room. Because it's fun? No. Because you'll have a better life. You'll have a better life when you keep things clean in your life. You're going to have a better future. You get caught stealing, we discipline it. I know it's not fun to discipline it. I know it take time on your, but we didn't steal $1 million. He just took half of a cracker, but he wouldn't ask permission for that. We're going to stop everything in my life, which I don't have time to do, and I'm going to deal with it. It takes discipline, doesn't it? In the end, my child sits there one day in a preschool and he's able to not eat the marshmallow. Thank you, mother. And well done, little boy. Say, Pastor, I wish I could have said I lived in that kind of a thing where my parents taught me this and they made me do right and they made me sit still. I don't know if when's the last time I showed this? Have I showed this in church before, Josiah? Have I showed that before in this church? Let me just tell you what we had with my son, okay? He was 6 years old. Actually, just about turned 6 when we started doing this. What happened was this. We moved to the city of Zhengzhou, China, to go to a house church there with a great pastor. But the very first week we were there, my son and I, the police came. And we never got to go to that church. So we were stuck for 1 whole year, because I signed a contract, of watching TV, watching the computer monitor for our church. So our little family of 4, my wife, my son, and my daughter, and myself would sit in our little room we called our office. Well, it was really this. Let me explain. Where I moved my family, there was no heating. We were just in the wrong region of China where they didn't have to install heating in the buildings, so they didn't. So we had to have our own heating. It was very expensive. And so we would heat a couple of rooms. That was it. You can ask my wife about it. She'll do it. But it is, can you check that? It got real hot in here. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure. Did that happen again? Thanks, Ben. You're the man. We're slowly understanding why it keeps getting hot at a certain time every Sunday night. Thank you, brother. You don't turn the cool on. Just keep the hot from going on. Keep the fan on, though, brother. Put the fan on. So my son was there every Sunday. We would sit down in the morning, and can I be honest? We were pre-COVID pajama wearers. We were watching church in our pajamas. Why not? It's just the 4 of us. It's Sunday morning, get up, and we'd go watch church. So we'd sit there and do it, and let me explain to you what my son was doing. And I realized, if we ever go back to America, he's not going to be able to sit still. Here's what my son was doing. 5, almost 6, and then 6. He's doing this. He would do acrobatics. He would go I won't do it. He would go all the way upside down. And I'm like, son, sit still. And he was like, yes, sir. And he would just start all over again, just slowly, slowly, pretty soon he was twisting himself in knots. Let me say, I can make excuses for that. He's 5 years old. But I want my son to do better. Let me say, I'm not looking for things to do. I'm as lazy as the next guy. Maybe more so. But I want my son to be disciplined. So one day when he didn't know, I took our camera. There was these old days when your camera was not connected to your phone. It was a long time ago. I put my camera on the video function, and I set it where he didn't, when he noticed, videoing him. And with the entire sermon, when it was all done, I showed it to him on the screen of him moving around. And I said, son, next time you move around, when we have church, you're going to have to sit afterwards for 5 minutes each time. So we did exactly that the next Sunday. Had the video on him, and he tried his best. And he would eventually just move a little bit. We watched the video, counted every single time. We were all done. We were finished. I'm not going to let him punish me for his mistake, so I'm leaving. Bye, son. Mama's done. Bye. Amelia can go play. Bye. You're going to sit here and put the camera on you again. I'm leaving. I'll be back in 20 minutes because you have 4 periods you have to sit through, and I'm going to watch the video with you in fast forward. If you don't move, you can go. If you do move, you're going to stay here for 5 minutes each time. You know what happened? Let me say, 2 weeks later, my son could sit through an entire sermon that he did not understand without moving. How do I know? I still have the video evidence. I can show it to you if you want to see it. He was learning that it's a whole lot better to not move now, because if you don't move now, you can move all you want later. Because it's fun to sit here? No. Because it's interesting? No. Because if I move, I will have to sit here without moving for 5 whole minutes. And my nose is itchy. If you say, Pastor, I didn't have a dad who made me sit still, I missed out on the chance. That's why you have a Heavenly Father who puts temptation in your life of all different kinds to work out different sets of patience muscles. And he puts that in your life, different things, so that you can try to get through the entire workout without blowing it. And you slowly build your patience. And the more patience you have, the more rewards come. We're going to be having a financial seminar on the 25th of this month. Do you know what we're bringing in? You know who we're bringing in? We're bringing in people to teach who in their lifetime over and over and over rejected this to have this. Over and over and over again. And the result is they have a ton of marshmallows. Let's go back and read the passage and we'll finish up. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. I'll tell you what I've discovered in my life. I've eaten a lot of these too early. And I've watched friends who waited to have this. And I've thought, oh, I wish I would have waited a little longer to enjoy this. And those friends that waited seem to be the ones that could wait the next time. And the next time. And the next time. And they're the ones who can travel the world anytime they want to. With any class of ticket. Or they could just go private if they want to. They get to live in that whatever house they want. You know why they don't have a bigger house? Because they don't want to clean it. They can drive any car they want. And they can be a blessing to anyone God moves on them to be a blessing for. Because over and over and over, they said no. Folks, can I ask you this? Are you as convicted as I am about eating that donut? That's what I am. You know what I mean? I've done it over and over in my life. You know what I mean? Here's why. Today we had a guest. This Gloria Suh. She was here with Mom sitting right there. And you can ask Justice. I was talking to Justice about it because she just blows my mind. I've known them for over 20 years now because she was Mom's best friend in Napa. They're both Korean. They live just a couple blocks away from each other. She had 2 daughters. Mom had 1 daughter. The daughters were all about the same age. They're still good friends to this day. They came from Korea. They didn't know any English. Came to America. And they started to just work. Save and work. They went to church. You know that Mr. Suh, immobile, Mr. David Suh, you can ask him, they eat so healthy. Super healthy. They don't eat the M&Ms that I eat. Eat healthy. And you know what he did a job? You know what the business he bought was? He was in Korea, he was a bigwig. He came to America and he didn't speak English. So he bought a shoe repair business. Well, that's prestigious. You know how many employees he had? 1. You know who that was? Himself. And he just worked there for 30 years. Now, of course, when I met them, they were driving around a Lexus. How do you do that? Because they had said no over and over to this. They owned a couple houses. I don't know how many houses, I don't know how many. Different rentals and so forth. Just slowly built a life. We got their Christmas card this year, and it blew my mind. Mr. Suh is not a young chicken. I had to ask today, Emo, how old is Emo? 79 this year. 79 years old. And they went to Nepal a couple times this year, as well as other countries, but they were there for several months working in an orphanage. Is that not impressive? As they were finishing up, they took a 3-day trip to get up to the base camp of Mount Everest. No joke. 12,000 feet. Hope I'm doing that when I'm 79 years old. Don't you? You know how you get it? By not eating this. By having this. That's how you get it. Folks, if we're going to develop in our kids self-discipline, which is patience to say no to what our flesh wants, we're going to have to go through a lot of temptation and say no to it. Let me tell you tonight, there's no way you're going to get patience by coming to this altar tonight and deciding, I will have self-control. That's not how you get it. The trying of your faith worketh patience. What does that look like? It works like this. God says, if you'll wait for the right spouse, I'll bring you that one. And this comes along over and over and over. And by faith you say, I trust that by not committing sin, I will someday have the best. That takes faith. And I could just apply that to everywhere. But before we end, let me read to you one more verse. We're going to get here in a few weeks, but just a little bit of a preview of what we ought to be doing. Would you mind just looking at verse 23 with me? I am sorry, verse number 22. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. But be ye doers of the word. Let me say that tonight when I'm watching that thing about marshmallows, and I realize in my life there are marshmallows that I want to eat tomorrow morning. There are marshmallows I want to have tonight. There's marshmallows I want to have this week that I should not have. And if I just reject it, someday I'll have better. I know that in my life, and I know this, that there's a good chance I'm going to eat some marshmallows I shouldn't eat. So then I hear a message like this. For me, I've just been preparing this message. Imagine what it's like for William Maricle to prepare this kind of message. Imagine how much conviction goes into this. And all I can do is say, it'll be a great message for our folks. Let's have them hear it, and then I can just go on with my life. And the Lord says, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. So tonight I want to ask you, I hope that you don't just look at that and go, that was interesting, and move on with your life. I hope that you decide I'm going to face my temptations and I'm going to push through them because God gave me the temptation to build some patience muscles, and I'm not going to succumb. And I don't care if it happens after church. I'm not going to let myself stay up till midnight looking at little videos on my phone or doing something I shouldn't be doing instead of having a better day tomorrow. When I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to make myself get up 30 minutes early so I can open my Bible, even though my eyes want to sleep. I'm going to make myself get into my Bible and read it, even though my body says I could really benefit from 30 more minutes of sleep. I'm going to say no to sleep, and I'm going to say yes to having the Lord Jesus Christ in my life, that I may not see the fruits thereof right away. But if I'll keep doing it, there will eventually be what God is going to give me as a reward for having taken the time to say, no, I'm not going to give in to my flesh. Let's be doers of the word, folks, and not hearers only. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your goodness. I pray that this passage would be clear to us why we should be so excited when you give us the chance to work out our patience muscles. Lord, I think of all those in our church who pay money every month to join gyms. Lord, I know they do it because they relish the chance to work out those muscles. It's not fun. I know it's painful. It takes a lot of discipline to get in there. God, I pray that we would look at temptation never again the same way, that we would see every chance to do something wrong, of the various kinds of temptation, all different kinds, temptation to lust, temptation to envy, temptation to be bitter, temptation to covet, temptation to lie. And I pray that every time we would decide, I'm going to resist this temptation, even though there's a benefit to succumbing right now, I'm going to go ahead and forego that benefit and take the consequence of doing right so that I can have the reward of doing right later. God, I pray that we'd give up the good now for the better later. I pray that you help our young people, that they would understand why their parents discipline them, the reasoning behind it, the philosophy of wanting to create in our children a better future by teaching them to reject good things now. God, I pray that you would please help us, Lord, to be a disciplined, patient church, that we wait for the right time, that we would not give in and enjoy the wonderful parts of sin, the pleasure of sins now for a season, and forgo the joy of having your blessing in our life in the future. I pray that you please work in our hearts tonight. With your heads bowed and eyes closed, all stand together as the pianist begins to play. All to Jesus I surrender. All to him I freely give. If you'd like to come this evening and pray, there's altars open. Let me just encourage you to go ahead and just make some firm decisions.